The dinner shop spends $23,850 monthly on supplies. If supplies represent 1/3 of total expenses, what are the annual total expenses to the nearest dollar? Okay, so one thing, notice that I changed 33 and 1/3% to 1/3 because that's really what that's representing. And we're asked to find the annual total expenses to the nearest dollar. So let's mark that first. We want to find the annual total expenses. Well, if we want to find our annual expenses, all we need to do is take our monthly expenses and multiply by 12 because there are 12 months in a year. So we'll take our monthly total expenses and we'll multiply by 12 for 12 months. Okay, so this is where it gets a little tricky, and you will refer to your equation sheet to help you here. Percent of total, our percent of total is equal to a particular expense divided by monthly total expenses. Okay, so for example, in this case we've got 33 1/3% of total expenses. That's our percent of total. We convert that to a decimal, which is 0.333 repeating. So that's our percent of total, and it's equal to whatever particular expense. So in particular, we're talking about monthly supplies, so $23,850 divided by our monthly total expense, which we don't know. However, if you notice, we've solved for everything except monthly total expense. So we're going to be able to rearrange this equation to solve. So I'm going to multiply both sides by monthly total expense. Multiply this side by monthly total expense. On this side it cancels out. On the right-hand side, or on the left-hand side, I got 0.333 times monthly total expense. Now I'll divide both sides by 0.3 repeating, and I'll find that my monthly total expense is equal to $23,850 divided by 0.333 repeating, which gives me $71,550.01. So again, I just found that by taking my percent of total equation, plugging in what I knew, and then rearranging the equation to solve for monthly total expense. Now I can plug that monthly total expense into my annual expenses equation. So my annual expenses are going to be equal to my monthly expense of $71,550.01 multiplied by 12. My annual expense then is equal to $858,600. So again, a quick recap. We were told that the dinner shop spent $23,000 a month on supplies, and that supplies were about 1/3 of their total expenses. So if they spend that much per month, first of all, we needed to know what their monthly expenses were. So we tracked backwards and we said, well, if $23,850 is 1/3 of their monthly expense, what's their full monthly expense, which we found to be $71,550 and a penny. So that told us what their monthly expenses were, but we wanted to know annual expense, so we took that number multiplied by 12 to find what they were paying yearly.